Welcome to the VC2 Multicast. Today we have our guest speaker, Pastor Mark Wargo, joining us. Mark Wargo pastors Cross Current Church in Port Huron, Michigan, and is an overseer of VC2. He recently wrote a book, Beyond Betrayal, that covers some of the material he'll be speaking on today in greater detail. You can get his book as well as others at wallerhill.com. Without further ado, here's today's message.
Let me ask you a question this morning. How many of you are sick and tired of broken churches? I mean, let's be honest. Come on. How many of you have ever been a part of a broken church? How many of you have ever been wounded at a church? How many of you have ever wounded somebody at a church? Oh, good. Some honesty in the house. Gotcha. Father, you saw every hand. They ain't gonna lie. Yeah, I've been stupid, right? You know, it's amazing because I love this stat because it really gives a picture of where we are in the church world across America. But this year alone, they're predicting that 19,000 critical church issues will take place across America. That's like 50 a day. There's not even that many services. 19,000 issues. Not because the pastor's up here teaching a satanic Bible. That's right. Not because he's up here teaching it's okay to abuse somebody. Not because he's up here teaching a wrong doctrine. 98% of those 19,000 will be because somebody doesn't like the color of the paint. Somebody doesn't like the style of music. Somebody says it's too loud, it's too dark, it's too quiet, it's too this, it's too that. All the stuff they look at and causes interpersonal issues that take place. 19,000 of them are predicted this year. Let's just let that sink in. 19,000. How many think that's a lot of issues? And yet I believe I still have hope. When we were singing that song, City of Hope, I've never really heard that before. But in the service I was seeing, I wasn't just picturing the city as a city of hope. I was picturing you guys as a city of hope. And I saw this picture of God picking you up and putting you on a mountain. He was lifting you up and putting you at a place, not to exalt you, not to say, oh, we all that, right? But to say what you have is worth God showing off. What you have here is worth God showing off. So there's going to be some specific things that take place that I didn't do before, but I believe there's somebody in here that is going to benefit from this happening. In this picture I got with God picking you guys up, He was doing it. He was doing it. And what I love is that God's very good at putting a hand to the proud, but exalting the humble. I'm telling you, this is a God environment in this house. If you coming from another church, I don't know who you are, and you've been abused and wounded and all that kind of stuff, you came to an imperfect church. If you come to my church in Port Huron, I'll be the first one to say it. You've come to an imperfect place. Because I'm an imperfect pastor. I may look at you wrong. And God just might use that look to let you know that you have an issue of healing yet. Right? Don't be like, well, he didn't talk to me today. Well, that's probably because you're rude. Right? Somebody put something in your grits. I don't even like grits. I just think it's awesome. Things you can say in the South are amazing, man. It's like, getting your goat? That what you told me the other day? Go get your goat? Don't let it get your goat. I'm going to use that one up north, but no one's going to know what it means. Get your goat and be like, what? Goat. Yeah, you guys got some great stuff, man. But I appreciate coming up here because Wednesday we had a huge snowstorm. And our day was quite interesting. We had 3 delays in Detroit just to get on the stinking plane. 6 accidents on the way to the airport, driving on ice all over the roads. People in Michigan don't know how to drive either. But we finally got to the airport, and we had 3 delays to get on the airplane. And then we were on the airplane, and we got to Charlotte. And then we stayed on the airplane for an hour. And then we had 3 delays, or cancellation. And then we had 3 more delays after that. Then we finally got to Augusta. Poor pastor was there for 5 hours, greeting all 3 people that get in Augusta, right? Right, and so he met 3 people, and then, so finally we got there, and then Corey's luggage was still in Charlotte, and my wallet was on the plane. Yeah, that was an adventure. But we're here. That was fun. And you know what? I could be so wounded and offended by American Airlines and say, I'm never flying again because you left my son's luggage. Never flying again, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fly again. And if they have cheap tickets, I'm going to buy cheap tickets from American Airlines. I'm going to forgive the fact that they kept Corey's luggage. You know, I play football. I don't play anymore, but I played football. I love football. Ever since I was a kid, man, I was playing. I love football. And man, I played, extreme flag football and kid and tackle football. And how many football players we have in the house? You played football at one time, right? See, so you know what I mean? You just love it. And how many of you played football and you ever got hurt playing football, right? Man, I dislocated my thumb, and as a kid, I ran off the field, and my dad was like, he wasn't that kind of guy that says, oh, it's okay. He pulled it back, put it in place, and said, get back out there. I was figuring how much was supposed to happen, right? Man, I'm running on the field, and I'm just light jogging, and I hit this bump in the grass, and I twisted my ankle, man. I've been jacked up. I've been hit. I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but I was the fastest. I'm scrappy. But I got lit up one day, and man, I saw stars, and it was like amazing. But in football, I always vowed that I would never wear a cup. Until one day, I regretted that decision. It was a big regret of mine. Because if you're playing football and wearing a cup is very uncomfortable. And don't get offended with me, just work with me here. We're going somewhere. Well, Pastor talked about a cup. Maybe you should go wear one. You might get freedom, right? Just get some freedom, right? Not here. Some of you are like getting visuals, and you're like, I didn't want that, Pastor. No, I didn't. Yeah, but they were doing this drill. They were doing the ball stripping, and you got to strip the ball out of the guy's hands. And the guy came down, and he went like this, and I was like, I regret not having one of those today. But I've had a lot of injuries on the football field. And yet today, at 44 years old, I still love football. I'm still invested in it. I will sit with my son, as my wife knows. She's in a good season right now because it's in between the football seasons. And, right? And seriously, because she knows, like, when football hits, Thursday to Tuesday, and Wednesday's worship practice, so we good. But Thursday, it is God sent. And we're watching football. It's like football coma for us. We'll watch a game and the teams don't even matter. And it's amazing, but I'm invested into football. And yet I got hurt so many times throughout the years, and yet I invest my money. When NFL comes around, I invest extra money a month into the NFL ticket so I can watch all the NFL games and not our poor, lowly Detroit Lions. Don't stick me with a losing team. I'm going to and then I tried to follow the Falcons. That didn't work either. I'm trying to support y'all, and then you're Georgia Bulldogs. That was a rough day. But you know what? What'd they say? Watch out. Hey, listen, the Wolverines, they were awful for 7 years, so I feel your pain. But listen, here's the issue. been hurt so many times. In fact, when certain temperature happens, and this happens when you're over 40, and you know what I'm talking about, the injuries of the past begin to creep up, and you're like, I got hurt when I was in junior high, and this thing still is reminding me that there was an injury, and yet I still invest my money and my time and my life into a thing that hurt me. I spent extra money. And believe me, it's not like it's just sitting there. We sacrifice this extra amount of money a month for the NFL ticket. Why? Because of the love I have for this game. I've had a bad experience at restaurants before. And yet I still find myself going out to eat. I found myself going to the same restaurant thinking maybe I won't have the same experience, and I come to find out I didn't have the same experience. I had a better experience. It was just somebody who had a bad bowl of grits that day. They had a rough day. But yet I still find myself investing money and going out and eating somewhere. I still find myself investing my life and my time and energy into something I love with all the injuries that I've had along the way. But yet in the church world, we find ourselves stuck when we're injured. We find ourselves in a place that you were injured 10 years ago, and yet you're 10 years further, but you sharing the story like it happened yesterday. You're talking about it as if it happened yesterday. Because it's an open wound and you have not allowed the healing balm to take place to bring a scar. I wonder if there's anybody in here that's sick and tired of the open wound. Because God does want you to share that story. But He doesn't want you sharing it with anger and resentment and bitterness and revenge. He wants you to share it from a place of, I'm not at the cross anymore. I'm on the other side of the cross in the resurrected lifestyle. And listen, I have family members who were wounded 25 years ago and still talk about the story as if it happened yesterday. And no amount of counseling and talking them out of it gets them in a place. They have to come to grips with the fact that finally you have to let that person go. You have to release the story, and you have to let this thing die. You do. I don't go into the same restaurant and talk about how 6 months ago I didn't get crispy fries when I ordered crispy fries. Had soggy fries. All you do is learn how to communicate. Listen, I'm the manager of this establishment corporately, and I want crispy fries. I know it's a lie, but don't say that really. But because all y'all know each other around these parts, and you'll be like, you ain't no manager. I know you. I know your family. But seriously, I don't get mad, and I still talk about when the burger didn't come the way I asked for it. You see, what I love about my life today is all the betrayals I've been through at church, and all the knives that have been stabbed in my back, and all the punches of the face, and all the sweet kisses of betrayal like Judas, all those things that have happened. I can sit here today and tell the stories and not want revenge on the people who did it. Not want people angry or people to suffer. I'm actually as I talked earlier, I want people blessed that have done it, because I don't want them to do it anymore. I don't want them to continue the cycle. But dadgummit, I'm not going to walk around with the baggage anymore. You see, I'm not talking about stories in an ugly place. But this is an environment. This church is an environment where the enemy loves to get in and destroy. I don't speak of fear today or out of fear or worry or concern or anything. I'm not sitting in here prophetically saying, oh, yes, yeah, oh, yep. No, no. Pastor didn't tell me a bunch of stories or give me pictures of who's trouble in the church, anything like that. In fact, we don't share those kind of stories. But I do know when there's a healthy environment, and this is a healthy environment. It's a healthy environment with a bunch of unhealthy people at times. Talk about the grace of God. You talk about the island of misfits toys, and God puts you together and says, look what I can do through a bunch of weirdos. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm talking about our church. If you're listening from Cross Current, yes, you're weird. And God used you with all your baggage to come and create an environment. And when there's a healthy environment like this, the enemy loves to try to get in and cause problems. Loves to try to get in and create a wedge. And it's never with a gigantic blow of, hey, I'm here to divide. It's those tiny little things that take place. I'll give you three things. And I go in more detail in the book, but I want to give you three things. The three things that will come and rear its ugly head in a healthy environment to bring division. It doesn't matter if it's a marriage, doesn't matter if it's friendship, doesn't matter if it's a business partner, doesn't matter if it's a team, a ball team, which I coach, and I can tell when this thing begins to rear its ugly head. And it doesn't matter if it's a church. The enemy hates unity. He hates unity. And if he can't divide the Trinity, then he's going to try, and he does a really good job at dividing the bride. 19,000 critical church issues that would take place this year. Doesn't matter if it's in the country, doesn't matter if it's in the city. People are people. Three-Headed Monster. That's the title we give it in the book. But these are the three things. Number one is personal agendas. Number two, selfish ambition. And number three, control issues. Now, when you look at personal agenda is simply this. It's rebellion. It's taking your idea and your agenda and pushing it beyond the God's delegated authority and pushing it beyond what God wants. Personal agenda. And it's always, and I mean always, at the core of it, it's rebellion. Selfish ambitions. This at its core is strife. Have you ever met somebody who has a tough time staying in relationships very long? They start out real hot, they start out real good, but it always ends in strife. There's a pattern of strife. You ever met somebody who goes from church to church, comes in, and they're the shining star, but only lasts for a short time, and all of a sudden there's an issue? But with a selfish, ambitious person, it's everybody else's fault. And strife is one of those things. It's an issue, a pattern. Not just a one-time deal where they had a bad moment. I'm talking about a pattern. We had a guy in our life that we looked up to for a long time. But we started seeing, as I began to write this and look at it, I started seeing there's a selfish ambition here. I didn't want to admit it at first because of the influence he had in my life at one time. But he had a selfish ambition. And there was something there because there was so many relationships at in our area, outside, everywhere he went, there was some strife that took place to divide relationships. So Tracy and I began to separate. And finally, I had an epiphany. I said, that guy's going to grow up and he's going to be lonely. He's not going to have many people in his life until he straightens it up. And that's what's going to happen with selfish, ambitious people. But it'll be everybody else's fault because everybody else is immature. Right? Control issues is simple. It's your way or the highway. And all the firstborns, amen that. But listen, the division is the devil's primary plan to destroy this house. And I'm going to give you a sober statement. If you haven't heard this before, if you heard it again, this is something that I keep in front of me, that you are only one decision away from a broken church. You're only one decision away from a broken marriage. You're only one decision away from a broken friendship. Isn't that sobering? Isn't that, like, you know that, but when you hear it, it's like, geez, one decision away. That's serious. And yet there's going to be about 19,000 of them this year because they can't get the paint color they want. They don't like the chairs. That guy looked at me wrong. I'm anointed and they're not using my anointing. I'm gifted and they're not using my gifting. But there's three things that destroy or starve the three-headed monster, and I want to give those to you today and spend some time there. The first one is humility. Humility. I'm not talking about the old time when I was a Baptist guy, kid growing up. Humility meant you were poor, broke, out of it. You walk like this. Oh, I'm just humble. Look at me, all the humility. Oh, that's just dumb. If you're broke, you can't do anything for the kingdom, right? I mean, it's like, God doesn't want you walking with your shoulders down. Humility is a clothing from heaven. So why would he put a clothing on you that would drag you down and push you down and hold you down? He'll give you the core crux of what humility is. Humility is knowing who you are, whose you are, and where you came from. Humility is knowing who you are, whose you are, and where you came from. Let's say it again. Who you are, whose you are, and where you came from. Who you are, whose you are, and where you came from. Every person that walks in pride and an inability to walk in humility has walked away from the fact that they once were jacked up prior to the cross and one were so screwed up prior to Jesus and forgot. And then they point the finger at everybody else who has not yet found Jesus, and they cause judgment, and they heap all these condemnation and words and all that kind of. It's because we've lost our way, and the only way to really get away from that is get back to where it started. Get back to the basics. You changed my life here. I know what I was prior to Jesus. I know that I was bitter. I know that I was angry. I know that I had the stuff going on. I know that I had issues. But humility reminds me of who I am. Not that I'm a loser, not that I'm a sinner, but that I'm a righteous son of the Father. I'm a powerful man of God. I may be small, 5.5, but dynamite comes in small packages, and I'll explode all over you. You know what I mean? I might not be able to reach your face. I'll punch you in the throat. For me fighting a tall guy, it's like, no, I just go right here, man. But who you are, whose you are, and where I come from. How about we not forget where we came from? Humility, 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 humility. Here's a second thing that starves the three-headed monster, the one another. I don't have time for this, but in the book I cover several areas of how to one another each other that the Bible gives us. And it talks about loving one another. It talks about honoring one another. Listen, if we just honored one another, I'm telling you, a church would never divide, because the only time things break is when you treat it as ordinary. Jesus was not able to do great things because they treated him as ordinary in his hometown. And when he got outside of the people who looked at him as just ordinary, they started treating him and honoring the fact that this man has a gift. This man has something I need. And when we see that for each other, we'll protect what we honor. Well, listen, I had a baseball that was signed by Alan Trammell and Al Neuheiser and a bunch of those guys. And listen, I didn't put it in a glass case, but I had it up on a shelf. And then we dog sat. I never wanted to kill a dog before. It got up on the counter and it chewed that ball up. I handed him my Christianity card for about 5 minutes. I picked it back up again, but I was really, really, really upset. See, we protect what we value. And most people that are smart, unlike me, when they have a ball that's signed by a bunch of people or something valuable, there's a protection over it. They put it in a glass case. When you value each other and honor each other, you'll protect one another. Honor, honor, honor. We have this phrase for our volunteers. We serve together and honor each other. We serve together and honor each other. We serve together and we honor each other. Most people don't get to honor when they first start, but they get it over time. We value one another. And listen, for all the gifted people, all the spiritual gifts, I know your pastor's going to talk about this in a couple weeks. Your gift is only as powerful as the ones next to you. Your gift is not powerful by itself. Go ahead, prophesy to the wall. Oh, I'm a prophetic person. Okay, well, encourage that wall, will you? Just exhort that wall. What a great wall you are. I prophesy someday you won't be flat. That crack in you, it will be fixed in Jesus' name. After a while, prophesying to the wall is going to get boring. Now, I know we speak life into areas, but let me tell you, your gift is only as powerful as the one next to you. I need different gifts in my life to flourish. I need ones that challenge me, and I need ones that frustrate me. And hopefully I frustrate you. I'm going to put a little something in your grits. He amen that one real quick. Here's the third thing. Unity. Unity. Unity is not a gift from God. It's not a spiritual gift. It's a decision that God puts before his people and says, will you, will you, will you, will you, and will you. In John 17, 20, 23, Jesus is praying. He says, my prayer is not for them alone. I pray also that those who will believe in me through their message. That's us. He says that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. You know, Jesus never sets us up for failure. So if he prayed this, that means there's really a possibility that the church can be one, just like the Father and Jesus are one. They are unbreakable. They cannot be separated. They cannot be divided. Therefore, there is a possibility if we make the right decisions and we come to the table with the right heart of humility and learn to one another each other, that we could never see another divorce in the house of God again. We can never see another betrayal in the house of God. But unfortunately, there will always be the one that tries to get in and give the sweet kiss of Judas, or give the big punch in the face like Delilah did, or the stab in the back like Absalom did. And so there's always those people who try to get in. But when there's a healthy environment of people who are unified, hands and hearts together, connected, moving forward with the leadership, guess what happens? When somebody comes in who wants to betray, shows up to a healthy environment, two things happen. They either change and become, or they change and they will leave. But I just happen to have the hope, after everything we've been through as a family, everything we've been through as a staff, I still have this hope here saying there's possibility. And even though within you there is possibility for a betrayal to take place, I still have hope. Listen, I have in me the ability to betray. I have within me the ability to divide the church, my staff, my family. I have that ability. I'm not above it. I have that ability. I'll admit it. I have that ability. I can go have an affair. I can divide the staff. I can do that real easy. So unity is not a spiritual gift. It is a decision. It's a decision. It's a decision. There ain't no betrayal that takes place that's just an accident. Oh, wow, that just happened? Wow, I didn't expect to betray that person today. I didn't expect, no, it's always, 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 always premeditated. It's always on purpose. Wow, it was such an accident. Next thing I knew, I was in the back seat with this woman I wasn't married to, and my wife was at home. No, somebody had to open the door up. Somebody had to unbuckle. You didn't just show up and be like, whoa, what happened? You're not Bruce Almighty when you can do this. Whoosh. If you are, I'm going to give you my prayer list today, man. Unity reveals Jesus. Unity reveals Jesus. Unity is our responsibility. Unity is not God's responsibility. God, would you unify us? No, I won't. But I will give you the heart to unify. God, would you take care of the issues? No, because you did them. But I'll give you the heart to clean the issue up. I'll give you the attitude to change your life and to change somebody else's. You see what I'm saying? We're praying for God to clean some stuff up, but he's waiting for us to do it. It's our responsibility. Ephesians 4:3, make every effort, make every effort, make every effort. If we made every effort, we would never see another division in the church again. If we made every effort, not just what we feel like doing, not just what our flesh says, oh, that's good, not just what our heart says, okay, I'm comfortable with that. No, it's every effort. And that may mean you bringing yourself lower before a brother and repenting. That may mean, seriously, it may mean you saying, even though you feel right, you don't have to declare you're right. Make every effort. I believe if we made every effort, we would never see another division again. Humility, one another, and unity. You know, when I go to football games, I'm not up in the stands saying, well, I've been wounded down on that field, so I'm going to go way up to the top and sit. I'm going to get us further. I may watch football, but I'm going to watch it from the furthest seat because I'm not getting close to the place where I was wounded. I don't get in the stadium and be like, well, I got this ticket, but I'm going to go trade because I'm scared to be down there, or I ain't getting by those people again, or they remind me of what happened 20 years ago, or they remind me of what happened 10 years ago, or they say the same language as what happened 10 years ago, so I'm going way up to the top. No. My investment into the love of the game and what I love, I want to get as far or as close to the field as I can. In fact, we get there an hour and a half, 2 hours early. We really invest into it. Why? I just don't want to show up for game time. I want to show up for pregame. I want to get the whole entire environment. I want to get down there by the field. If a ball comes in the stands, we're fighting for it to get it. If the field goal kicker kicks one, we're going after it. Why? Because I love the game. I want to be there. I want to get every bit of experience I can. I'm not going up to the top just because I got hurt 20 years ago. And what happened, and the picture I got when I was preparing for this was this, is that when the wounds happen in our life, we get these fish hooks in our mouths. Anybody got brothers or sisters? How many of you like to wrestle with them? Now, when you wrestle with brothers and sisters, it's not fair game. It's whatever it takes to win. That's when you want to wear a cup. You fight in my family, you come out in full hockey gear, right? It's all on. But it is all out war. I got an older brother, I got two younger brothers. Now they're all bigger than me, but I can still take them. I'm faster. I'm smarter. They all say the same thing. I don't like fighting with Mark because he cheats. Respect the dynamite. That's what I'm talking about. They don't. Isn't that the truth? They won't wrestle with me anymore. They'll know I'll stay away from Mark. I'm the smallest one in the family, but they know. It won't be a long wrestling match because I will cheat. But man, when we were wrestling, man, as kids, there'd be fish hooks. We'd put our fingers in their mouth and pull. And when you got a fish hook in their mouth, man, you got control. Man, you pointing it, you're pulling it. They can't even bite down on your finger because it's so elastic. It just ripping their chin or their skin. And what happens when you're wounded within the church, there's a fish hook that begins to take place. And when you let that wound continue to be there and you let that thing begin to, or continue to stay, it's a fish hook in your mouth. And you're trying during worship to keep your eyes on Jesus and you have moments of clarity, but this wound continues to hold your direction. And you're like, I want to stay focused on Jesus, but I can't. And the more you pull, the more painful it gets. So then what do? We just give in. When I'm looking this way, I cannot focus if Jesus is over there. I can't do it. And we have these fish hooks in our mouths, and it's pulling us to the right and to the left, and we're trying to fix our eyes on Jesus, but these wounds and these things are still happening, and it's like it happened yesterday, but it's been 20 years ago. And what happens is we do exactly what it's like at the game. I'll go to church because I know I need to. But I refuse to engage. I'm going to go up to the top of the stadium and I'm going to watch from there. I'm going to sit in the cheap seats. I'll sit in the cheap seats. You know what you have to do sometimes when you sit in the cheap seats? Now, it's a big house where the Michigan Wolverines play. There's 113,000 people that show up to that thing. You sit up in the cheap seats, it's very difficult to really see what's going on in the game. So what do you got to do? You got to watch it on the screen. Why not go home? Watch it on your big TV. And isn't that exactly what the enemy's plan is all along? Way in the cheap seats. They don't really notice my gift anyway. They don't need me. They don't want me. They don't belong. You know, all these fish hooks. And the whole plan of the enemy is to isolate you so he can destroy you. They don't want me here. I don't belong here. I'm just going to be hurt again. They don't even notice when I'm gone. Well, make yourself noticeable so that when you're gone, you'll be noticed. There's some people that say, you didn't even notice I was gone. I didn't know you were coming to church. Are you a part of Cross Current? Yeah, it's my church. Really? When were you here? Christmas. I was there when you did that one message. You know that one? You know the one you talked about Jesus? Oh, really? But the whole plan of the enemy is to fish hook you, to isolate you, so he can destroy you. I'm going to do something that may be kind of awkward, but I'm going to ask you a question today. How many of you today, you can bow your heads real quick. Because this is going to mean business. This is going to be something very significant for you today. How many of you feel like today you feel fish hooked and you feel this pull of this isolation from the body of Christ? If that's you today, slip your hand up where you are right now. I'm going to give it 3 more seconds for you to think about this. It might be subtle. It might not be, well, let's just leave. It might be, I don't belong. They don't notice me. I'm not a part. Okay, now look at me real quick, please. We're going to do something very significant today. And I believe this is more than just a natural act. I'm going to ask your pastors to come up here for a moment. I'm going to ask some of the leadership to come up as well. Because when we get ready for a game, and I bring the team together, and I'm not the coach here, your pastor's the coach. Your pastors are the coach. When we get ready to go out and play, we pull the team together. We go through simple bullet points, and we put our hands in the middle. And sometimes in the middle of the game, when somebody's made an error, somebody's made a bad play, and they start to disconnect from the team, and I know enough to pull them together and say, come on, hands back in the middle. Come on, we a team. We're going to lose as a team. We're going to win as a team, but we're going out as a team today. And some of you are going to join the team, not just in physical. You're going to join the team today in heart. And this may seem silly, but for some of you, you're going to walk out of here and you're going to be feeling a part of something that you've never felt at the depths of you that's going to happen today. When you come up here, something is going to break off of you. That slight, subtle pull, that fish hook, that subtle thing. You don't belong, come on, don't even go. Why go? They don't even notice you. So if your hand went up today, I'm going to ask you to come up. Because these guys right here, their hands are going in the middle. They're going in the middle. Hands in. And if your hand went up today and you says, I've never felt the acceptance in the body of Christ and I've been struggling with it, this isolation, I'm going to ask you to get up out of your seat where you are and come put your hand in the middle. Come on, don't delay. How about VC2? Let's give the Lord a big old hand because today there's something that's taking place. Hand in the middle.
Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to find out more about VC2 or let us know more about you, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube using the handle VC2 Online. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And if you found us on iTunes and liked us, please leave a review to help others find the message of Christ.